Gold Thread Studios. They thought she couldn't understand. Chapter 1. The Woman in the Elevator. They spoke about her in Korean because they assumed she couldn't understand. That was their first mistake. The second was assuming the hair wasn't hers. Simone Tanaka-Bennett stood near the back of the elevator with one hand resting loosely around the handle of a leather portfolio. 32 years old. Tall. Fit. Dark. Beautiful. Her skin was a deep brown that seemed almost luminous against the cream silk blouse beneath her tailored black suit. Her hair fell sleek and bone-straight beyond her shoulders, glossy beneath the recessed lights of the elevator. Her own hair. Not that the two women standing 3 feet away knew that. One glanced at Simone through the reflection in the polished elevator doors, then whispered in Korean, "That has to be a wig." Her friend looked too. Definitely. Simone kept her eyes on the illuminated numbers above the doors. 21. 22. 23. I wonder where she bought it. Probably America. A pause. Do you think she's American? Maybe. Another glance. Or African. Simone pressed her lips together. Not because she was angry. Because she was trying very hard not to laugh. People had been trying to decide where she came from since she was old enough to understand the question. She had learned something useful along the way. Sometimes the most entertaining thing you could do was remain silent and let people keep guessing. 24. One woman lowered her voice. Maybe she's lost. Should we help her? She probably doesn't speak Korean. That nearly did it. Simone lowered her eyes toward her shoes so they wouldn't see her smile. She had been born 15 minutes from where they were standing. She had attended kindergarten in Seoul, elementary school in Seoul, middle school in Seoul. She had been scolded by Korean teachers, chased through playgrounds by Korean children, fallen asleep on city buses, and spent enough teenage evenings inside noribang rooms to permanently ruin several perfectly respectable songs. Korean wasn't a language Simone had learned. It was one of the languages in which she thought. 28. The conversation continued behind her. I heard they're interviewing someone from overseas today. For the executive position? Yes. The other woman looked at Simone again. Surely not her. This time Simone's smile disappeared. 31. The elevator slowed. A soft chime sounded. 32. The doors opened. Simone stepped out, then stopped. She turned. Both women froze. Simone looked at the first, then the second. In effortless Korean, carrying the natural rhythm of someone born and raised in Seoul, she said, Gangnam has several excellent salons if you'd genuinely like to know how I keep my hair straight. Neither woman moved. Simone touched the ends of her hair. And no, it's not a wig. One woman's face turned crimson. The other looked as though she wanted the elevator floor to swallow her. Simone continued. You were also wondering whether I'm American. Silence. I'm not. She switched briefly into Japanese. My father is Japanese. Then English. My grandparents are Jamaican. Finally, she returned to Korean. But I was born right here in Seoul. The elevator doors began closing. Simone caught them with one hand. Oh, and the executive interview? She smiled. That part you got right. She released the doors. The women disappeared behind polished steel. Simone stood alone in the corridor. 3 seconds passed. Then she exhaled. Lord have mercy. The Jamaican cadence slipped effortlessly from her mouth. Mommy would tell me to behave myself. Her phone vibrated. Simone stared at the screen. Mom. She almost laughed. Some women didn't need supernatural abilities. They simply became mothers. Simone answered. Morning. You reach. Yes, Mummy. On time, Mummy. I'm asking a question. I am 32 years old. And? Simone smiled. I'm here. Good. A pause. Then, you eat. Simone closed her eyes. Yes. What? Food. Simone. Toast. That is not breakfast. It was this morning. Her mother's sigh traveled through the phone with enough disappointment to cross Seoul. You're going into an executive interview on one slice of toast? 2. Oh. Well, forgive me. A feast. Simone laughed. Marcia Bennett had been born in Korea to Jamaican parents who had arrived decades earlier believing they would stay only a few years. They never left. Korea became home without Jamaica ever stopping being home too. Marcia grew up between both worlds and eventually raised her daughter the same way. Their refrigerator had always contained kimchi besides Scotch bonnet pepper sauce. Sunday dinner might mean galbi. Or curry goat. Sometimes both. Christmas sounded Jamaican. Seoul felt Korean. And whenever Simone's Japanese father took control of the kitchen, everybody else simply got out of his way. None of it had ever seemed contradictory to Simone. Other people were the ones who needed boxes. Her mother was still talking. Remember what I told you? Which thing? You tell me 17 things every morning. Simone. I'm listening. Marcia's voice softened. Walk in there knowing who you are. Simone looked toward the enormous glass doors at the end of the corridor. I know. Good. Another pause. And don't let anybody touch your hair. Simone burst out laughing. Mummy, I'm serious. I have to go. Call me afterward. I will. And Simone. Yes. Walk good. Her smile softened. Always. The call ended. Simone slipped the phone into her handbag. Then she turned toward the boardroom. She didn't notice the man standing beyond the glass until she had nearly reached it. He was watching her. Tall. Dark suit. White shirt. No tie. Black hair swept neatly away from a face that seemed constructed almost entirely from sharp lines and restraint. Kang Tae-jun. 35. Executive Director of Myrie Crown Hospitality. Grandson of its founder. Son of its chairman. And according to almost everyone Simone had spoken to before accepting the interview. A difficult man. Not cruel. Not arrogant. Difficult. There was a difference. Cruel men enjoyed power. Arrogant men needed you to know they possessed it. Difficult men simply had standards high enough to make everybody around them uncomfortable. Simone understood difficult men. She had been raised by Hiroshi Tanaka. Taejun's gaze remained on her. Simone held it. Neither smiled. Then Taejun opened the conference room door. Ms. Tanaka-Bennett. Korean. No hesitation over her name. No English. No exaggerated politeness reserved for foreigners. Director Kang. His eyes flicked briefly toward the elevator behind her. You appear to have had an interesting journey upstairs. So he'd heard. Wonderful. Simone walked past him. I've had worse elevator rides. Something almost happened to his mouth. Almost. Then it disappeared. 3 other executives were seated around the long table. Simone greeted each of them. Introductions followed. Water was offered. Documents were arranged. The interview began. For the first 15 minutes, everything was ordinary. Her experience. Her education. 6 years working internationally. Luxury markets. Expansion strategy. Brand positioning. Then Taejun leaned back slightly. Why Korea? Simone looked at him. Excuse me. You've built an impressive career abroad. London, Singapore, Tokyo. Your current employer has offered you a promotion. Yes. Yet you're willing to leave it. Yes. For Seoul. One of the executives glanced at Taejun. Simone understood what he was asking. She also understood what he wasn't. Because Seoul is home. Taejun studied her. You haven't lived here in 6 years. I haven't lived in my mother's house in 14. It's still home. One executive smiled. Taejun didn't. What happens when nostalgia wears off? Simone's expression changed. So this was how he wanted to play. Nothing. Nothing. I didn't apply because I miss street food and the Han River, Director Kang. A tiny silence entered the room. I applied because Myri Crown wants to expand into markets it doesn't understand as well as it believes it does. One executive stopped writing. Taejun's gaze sharpened. Simone continued. You've spent 3 years trying to position a Korean luxury brand internationally while repeatedly adapting the brand to what you think foreign consumers want. And you disagree with that strategy. Yes. Why? Because you're apologizing for being Korean. Nobody moved. Simone leaned forward. You remove too much of what makes the company distinctive because someone has convinced you that international means culturally neutral. Taejun's face remained unreadable. You've reviewed our campaigns. All of them. And your solution? Stop trying to look like Paris. That did it. One executive coughed. Another looked down to hide a smile. Taejun remained still. Simone continued. Korea doesn't need to imitate European luxury to be considered sophisticated. You have architecture, food, craft, landscape, hospitality traditions, and an aesthetic language entirely your own. And international consumers will understand that. They don't need to understand everything. Taejun's eyebrow moved. Simone smiled slightly. Sometimes not understanding is what makes people curious. Silence. Then Taejun asked, what would you change first? Simone reached for her portfolio. She opened it. And for the next 27 minutes, the interview stopped being an interview. It became an argument. A very polite argument. But an argument nonetheless. Taejun challenged nearly every assumption she presented. Simone challenged nearly every assumption underlying his questions. He questioned her numbers. She had sources. He questioned her projections. She had models. He questioned whether one of her proposed markets could support the pricing structure. She slid a page across the table showing him exactly why it could. At some point, the other executives stopped participating. They simply watched. Then Taejun asked the question that changed everything. If you believe our strategy is fundamentally flawed, why work for us? Simone closed her portfolio. Because the company isn't flawed. His gaze settled on her. The strategy is silence. And strategies can change. Something passed between them. Not attraction. Not yet. Recognition. The dangerous kind. The recognition that comes when you discover someone sitting across from you might actually be able to keep up. Taejun looked down at her resume. His gaze stopped. Simone noticed. Tanaka-Bennett. For the first time since she entered the room, something disturbed his composure. It lasted less than a second. But Simone saw it. Your father is Japanese? There was something different in his voice. Yes. His name. The question was inappropriate. Personal. One of the executives shifted. Simone's eyes narrowed. Hiroshi Tanaka. Taejun went completely still. There. Again. Something. Simone leaned back. Is there a problem? His eyes returned to hers. No. But there was. She knew it immediately. Taejun closed the resume. The interview ended 12 minutes later. Taejun waited until Simone had left the building. Then he locked his office door. For several moments, he stood behind his desk without moving. Hiroshi Tanaka. He hadn't heard that name spoken aloud in years. But he remembered it. His father had once forbidden it from being spoken inside their home. Taejun opened a drawer. Not the top one. The bottom. Inside was an old envelope he had found while clearing his grandfather's study after his death. He had never shown it to his father. Taejun removed the photograph inside. Tokyo. Two young men stood outside a narrow restaurant beneath a faded awning. One was Taejun's father, Kang Min-suk. The other man was Japanese. Tall. Lean. Smiling broadly with one arm thrown around Min-suk's shoulders. On the back, someone had written two names. Min-suk and Hiroshi. Below them. Brothers before business. Taejun stared at the photograph. Then at the resume lying on his desk. Simone Tanaka-Bennett. He reached for his phone. His father's assistant answered. Director Kang? I need to speak with Chairman Kang. He's in a meeting. Tell him it's about Hiroshi Tanaka. Silence. A very long silence. Then, please hold. Across Seoul, Simone sat in the back of a taxi staring through the window. Her phone rang. Mummy. Well, I don't know. How can you not know? Because interviews don't usually end with confetti. How did it feel? Simone thought about the boardroom. The questions. The argument. Taejun's eyes. And the strange change in his expression when she said her father's name. Interesting. Marcia groaned. Interesting is not an answer. Simone smiled. Then another call appeared. Unknown Seoul number. Mummy, hold on. She switched calls. Hello. Miss Tanaka-Bennett? Yes. This is Myrie Crown Hospitality. Simone straightened. We'd like to formally offer you the position. Her mouth opened. That was fast. Very fast. Today? Yes. A pause. Director Kang has personally approved the appointment. That surprised her even more. Simone looked through the taxi window at Seoul passing around her. The city of her childhood. The city people kept welcoming her to as though she'd just arrived. The city she had left 6 years ago believing distance might make her understand herself better. She smiled. When would you like me to start? On the 32nd floor of Myrie Crown, Taejun stood across from his father. Chairman Kang Min-suk was 63 now. But the moment Taejun placed the photograph on the desk, 30 years disappeared from his face. His father stared at it, then whispered, Where did you get this? Grandfather's study. You should have thrown it away. Why? Min-suk looked at his son. Because some things are better left where they ended. Taejun placed Simone's resume beside the photograph. His father's eyes dropped to the name. And whatever color remained in his face disappeared. Hiroshi has a daughter? Yes. Min-suk looked toward the windows. Does she know? Know what? His father didn't answer. Appa. Still nothing. What happened between you and Hiroshi Tanaka? Min-suk picked up the photograph. His thumb moved once across its faded edge. When he finally spoke, his voice was quiet. He destroyed my family. Taejun stared at him. Then Min-suk turned the photograph over. Brothers before business. His expression hardened. And I destroyed his. Simone knew none of this. She was still sitting in the taxi when her mother's voice exploded through the phone. You got it. Simone pulled the phone away from her ear. Mummy, you got the job. Yes, Marcia screamed. Somewhere in the background, Simone heard her father asking what had happened. Then Marcia shouted, Hiroshi, your daughter get the job. Simone laughed. Her father's voice came closer. Give me the phone. Rustling. Then, Simone? Hi, Papa. I knew you would. You said the company was too conservative. I can believe two things simultaneously. She smiled. Apparently. What company was it again? Myrie Crown. Silence. Simone's smile faded.
Papa.
Nothing.
Papa.
Then Hiroshi spoke. Who interviewed you? The question came too quickly. Simone sat straighter. Kang Tae-jun. Her father inhaled. Just once. But she heard it.
Papa.
When do you start? Monday. Another pause. Simone. Yes. Don't. She frowned. Don't what? Take the job. The taxi continued through Seoul. Simone stared straight ahead. What? I don't want you working for that family. And suddenly, Kang Tae-jun's reaction to her father's name no longer seemed strange at all. It seemed like the beginning of something. Something both families had apparently decided Simone didn't need to know. She looked out at the city, then said quietly,
Papa.
What did you do? Chapter 2. Things our fathers never told us. What did you do? The question sat between Simone and her father. On the other end of the phone, Hiroshi Tanaka said nothing. That frightened her more than an answer would have. Her father was not a silent man. He had opinions about everything. Food, politics, football, the proper temperature for green tea, the criminal misuse of soy sauce, the inexplicable popularity of certain television dramas. Hiroshi Tanaka could turn choosing a restaurant into a 40-minute debate. Silence was not his natural state.
Papa.
Come home. Simone frowned. I am coming home. Now. Mummy invited half of Seoul over yet? Your mother is already cooking. Of course she was. I'll be there in 30 minutes. Good. Are you going to tell me what happened? When you get here.
Papa.
Simone. His voice softened. Please. That stopped her. All right. The call ended. Simone lowered the phone. Outside the taxi window, Seoul moved around her in familiar fragments. A delivery scooter slipping between cars. A grandmother pulling a shopping trolley. Teenagers gathered outside a convenience store. Office workers crossing beneath enormous digital advertisements. She had been away for 6 years. Yet, sometimes returning home felt less like coming back and more like discovering all the ways home had changed without asking permission. She looked at the offer email again. Executive Director, International Brand Strategy. Salary. Benefits. Start date. Authority. A position she had wanted before she knew Kang Tae-jun existed. Before her father's voice changed. Before an old family secret suddenly appeared between her and the future she had planned. Simone locked her phone. Whatever Hiroshi Tanaka had to say, he had better make it good. Because she had not spent 12 years building a career for her father to end it with 4 words. Don't take the job. Absolutely not. Her mother's apartment smelled like garlic, sesame oil, and Scotch bonnet peppers. Home. Simone barely made it through the door before Marcia wrapped both arms around her. My executive. Mummy. My baby. I am 32. My 32-year-old baby. Simone laughed despite herself. Marcia released her only long enough to inspect her. You look skinny. I saw you 4 days ago. And? Simone looked toward the kitchen. 3 pots were going. Something was roasting. Something else was frying. Who exactly are you feeding? Us. There are 3 people here. 4. Simone stopped. 4. Her mother looked guilty. The doorbell rang. Simone stared at her. Mummy. Marcia suddenly became extremely interested in the stove. Who did you invite? I didn't invite anybody. The bell rang again. Simone looked toward the entrance. Then at her mother. Who? Marcia sighed. Your grandmother. Simone closed her eyes. Oh, God. Don't start. You told Grandma? You got an executive position. I haven't accepted it yet. Marcia froze. What? From the living room, Hiroshi appeared. He had changed since the phone call. Not physically. Something behind his eyes. You haven't accepted? Simone looked at him. No. Relief moved across his face. That irritated her immediately. I also haven't declined. The relief vanished. The doorbell rang for the 3rd time. Then came a voice from the hallway. Marcia, me know ya hear die bell. Simone laughed despite herself. Her grandmother had been in Korea for more than 40 years and still possessed the ability to turn a Seoul apartment hallway into rural Jamaica whenever she felt ignored. Marcia hurried to the door. Coming, Mummy. The door opened. Evelyn Bennett entered carrying 2 containers of food despite the fact that nobody had asked her to bring anything. She was 76, compact, elegant, sharp-eyed, and entirely unimpressed by age. She took one look at Simone. My girl. Simone hugged her. Hi, Grandma. Evelyn pulled back. Turn round. Why? Me want see ya. You saw me Sunday. And today is today. Simone turned. Her grandmother nodded approvingly. Pretty. Thank you. Then Evelyn touched one sleek section of Simone's hair. Still straightening out all this good hair. Simone groaned. Not you too. What? 2 women in the elevator spent 5 floors discussing whether it was a wig. Evelyn's eyes widened. In front of you? They thought I couldn't understand Korean. Silence. Then her grandmother started laughing. Not chuckling. Laughing. She placed the food containers on the table because she could no longer hold them safely. Marcia joined in. Even Hiroshi smiled. What did you say? Evelyn demanded. I told them it wasn't a wig. That's all. I had an interview. Evelyn shook her head. You're getting soft. Grandma. Shoulda turned round and answered them from floor 23. Marcia pointed a wooden spoon at her mother. And this is why Simone has no restraint. She get that from you. I absolutely did not. Simone stood between them. I would like the record to show that I behaved with extraordinary professionalism. Evelyn kissed her cheek. My executive granddaughter. Then Hiroshi said quietly, Maybe not. The room changed. Evelyn looked at him. Marcia stopped stirring. Simone turned. Her father's expression was serious. Sit down. No. Simone. I've been sitting all morning. You can explain standing up. Marcia lowered the heat beneath the stove. Hiroshi. He looked at his wife. Something passed between them. Simone saw it. You knew. Marcia's eyes shifted toward her daughter. I knew there had been history. What history? Nobody answered quickly enough. Simone laughed once. Not because anything was funny. You've got to be kidding me. Simone. No. Everybody apparently knows something except me. Evelyn sat slowly at the table. I don't. Simone pointed toward her grandmother. Thank you. At least there are 2 of us. Hiroshi walked to a cabinet. He opened it. Behind a stack of old documents sat a wooden box Simone had seen hundreds of times. She had never seen him open it. Until now. Hiroshi carried it to the table. He removed an envelope. Inside were photographs. Old ones. Japan. Korea. Young men Simone barely recognized. Her father placed one photograph on the table. Two men stood outside a restaurant. One was unmistakably Hiroshi. Younger. Thinner. His hair longer. Beside him stood a Korean man Simone didn't recognize. His arm was around Hiroshi's shoulders. Both were laughing. "That's Kang Min-suk," Hiroshi said. Simone stared. "Taejun's father." "Yes, you knew him." Hiroshi looked at the photograph. "He was my best friend." Simone's anger paused. That was not what she expected. "How?" "University. You studied in Tokyo. So did Min-suk for 2 years." Hiroshi sat. "We were young. Stupid. Ambitious." Marcia placed a cup of tea beside him without asking. He wrapped both hands around it. "We wanted to build something together." "What?" "A small hotel." Simone blinked. "A hotel. In Busan." Hiroshi smiled faintly at the memory. "Nothing like Mairi Crown. 22 rooms. Near the water. We had no money. No experience. No business trying." Evelyn murmured. "That never stopped young people yet." Hiroshi nodded. "No." "What happened?" His smile disappeared. "We found an investor." Simone waited. He offered enough money to expand the project. Bigger property. Better location. Min-suk's family became involved. The Kangs. Yes. At that time, Mairi Crown wasn't what it is today. Hiroshi leaned back. Then the money disappeared. Simone frowned. "What do you mean disappeared?" "Accounts were emptied. Contracts changed. Debts appeared under my name. And?" Hiroshi looked at her. "Min-suk believed I stole from him." Simone stared. "Did you?" "No." There was no hesitation. "Then why did you think you did?" "Because everything pointed to me." "Who actually stole it?" Her father was silent. "You don't know." "No." 30 years later? "No." Simone looked at the photographs. "And you blamed him too." Hiroshi's jaw tightened. "When the investigation began, documents appeared showing that I had authorized transactions I had never seen. Forged." "Yes." "Did Min-suk know?" "I believed he did." "Why?" "Because he testified against me." The room went silent. Simone looked at her father. "You were arrested?" Marcia answered quietly. "For questioning." Simone turned toward her mother. "You knew that?" "Yes. And nobody thought this might be useful family information?" "It happened before you were born." "That doesn't make it disappear." "No," Hiroshi said. "It doesn't." He reached for another photograph. This one showed the same two men sitting on a seawall. Younger still. Barely more than boys. "We never spoke again." Simone stared at it. Then something occurred to her.
Papa.
"Yes." "You said he destroyed your family." Hiroshi's expression changed. "And apparently he told Taejun that you destroyed his." Her father's eyes snapped toward her. "How do you know that?" "I don't." Simone folded her arms. "But Taejun knew your name before I left that building. Which means somebody told him something." Hiroshi stood. "Decline the job." "No." Simone. "No." Those people are not Taejun." Her father stopped. Simone stopped too. She had said his first name without thinking. Her grandmother noticed. Of course she did. Evelyn's eyebrow rose. Simone ignored her. I interviewed with him. He was difficult, but he was fair. You met him for an hour. And you've never met him. I know his father. You knew his father 30 years ago. Some things don't change. Some things do. Hiroshi stared at his daughter. Simone softened slightly. Papa, I believe you. His expression shifted. I believe you didn't steal that money. She touched the photograph. But if Kang Min-suk spent 30 years believing you did, and you spent 30 years believing he framed you, then at least one of you is wrong. Simone. And maybe both of you are. Her father said nothing. Simone picked up her handbag. Marcia frowned. Where are you going? To accept my job. Now. Yes. Her father stood. Simone. She turned at the doorway. I love you. His anger faltered. But you don't get to choose my career because of something that happened before I was born. Then she looked at her mother. Save me food. Marcia looked offended. You think I wouldn't? Simone kissed her cheek. She kissed her grandmother. Then she paused beside her father. Hiroshi didn't look at her. Simone kissed his cheek anyway. I'll be careful. He finally met her eyes. That is what people say before they do something dangerous. She smiled. I am your daughter. That is exactly why I'm worried. Chapter 3. Monday morning. At 8:17 Monday morning, Simone entered Myrie Crown headquarters as an employee. At 8:19, someone mistook her for a visiting model. At 8:23, someone from security politely asked whether she needed directions. At 8:31, a junior employee welcomed her to Korea in English. Simone thanked him in Korean. The poor man nearly walked into a wall. By 8:45, she had decided she needed coffee. Strong coffee. She was standing in front of the executive floor machine trying to understand why a company capable of operating luxury hotels across Asia had purchased a coffee machine requiring an engineering degree when a voice came from behind her. Press the silver button twice. She didn't turn. I know how to make coffee. The empty cup suggests otherwise. Simone looked over her shoulder. Taejun. No jacket this morning. White shirt. Dark trousers. Sleeves buttoned at the wrist. Annoyingly composed. She pressed the silver button twice. Nothing happened. Taejun reached past her. His arm came close enough that she caught the clean, subtle scent of his cologne. He pressed another button first. Then the silver button twice. Coffee began pouring. Simone stared at the machine. You omitted a step. You said you knew how to make coffee. I do. Apparently not here. She looked at him. He looked at her. And there it was again. That strange little collision between irritation and amusement. Simone took the cup. Thank you. You accepted. You sound disappointed. I approved your appointment. You also asked about my father in the middle of an interview. Taejun's expression changed. Simone took a sip. Better. You spoke to him. Yes. And apparently our fathers spent 30 years behaving like characters in a melodrama. Taejun almost smiled. Almost. My father told me Hiroshi Tanaka destroyed his family. My father told me Kang Min-suk destroyed his. They stood facing each other beside the coffee machine. So, Simone said, one of them is lying. Or mistaken. She raised an eyebrow. I was going to say that next. Of course. Do you always do that? Do what? Behave as if you reached every conclusion 3 minutes before everybody else. Usually 5. Simone stared at him. Taejun walked away. She looked after him. Lord, give me strength. Without turning, Taejun said, I heard that. Simone froze. He continued walking. In English. I spent 4 years in New York. Simone stared at his back. Then, slowly, she smiled. Interesting. Very interesting. Her first executive meeting began at 9. By 9:15, Simone understood why Myri Crown had hired her. By 9:30, she understood why Taejun had challenged her so aggressively during the interview. The company was good. Very good. But everybody around the table was accustomed to agreeing with him. Not because he demanded it. Because he was usually right. That was almost more dangerous. A man who was wrong frequently learned humility. A man who was right frequently could begin believing he always would be. Simone waited. Listened. Took notes. Then a presentation appeared showing the company's proposed Caribbean expansion strategy. Her pen stopped. Taejun noticed. Something wrong. Simone looked at the screen. Yes. The room became quiet. What? Almost all of it. Someone inhaled. Taejun leaned back. Explain. Simone stood. She walked toward the screen. You've treated the Caribbean as though it's one culture. She pointed toward the map. It isn't. Another slide. And this. A luxury resort rendering appeared. Palm trees. White sand. Generic tropical decor. Simone stared. What country is this supposed to be? Jamaica, someone answered. She turned. Then why does it look like absolutely nowhere? Silence. Taejun's mouth twitched. Simone continued. If you're going into Jamaica, build something that belongs in Jamaica. She changed the slide. Use Jamaican architects, Jamaican artists, Jamaican food professionals. Learn the communities. Learn the history. One executive said, International guests expect certain things. Simone turned. They expect luxury. Yes, luxury and authenticity are not opposites. Taejun watched her. She was different from the woman in the interview. Not softer. Larger somehow. Certain. Alive. She didn't perform expertise. She possessed it. And when somebody challenged her, her eyes brightened instead of narrowing. Taejun realized something inconvenient. He enjoyed arguing with her. Very much. Simone returned to her seat. What would you recommend? He asked. She looked directly at him. A complete redesign. The executive responsible for the project nearly choked. Taejun said, How long? 6 weeks. 4. Impossible. 5. 6. 5. Simone considered him. 5.5. Nobody around the table moved. Taejun nodded. Done. The meeting continued. At noon, Taejun's assistant entered his office. Director Kang? Yes. Chairman Kang wants to know why Miss Tanaka-Bennett is still employed. Taejun looked up. She started 3 hours ago. I believe that's his point. Taejun removed his glasses. Tell my father personnel decisions within my division are mine. His assistant hesitated. He specifically requested that she be dismissed. No. Director. No. The assistant bowed slightly and left. Taejun looked through the glass wall. Across the floor, Simone was speaking with 3 members of her new team. Someone said something. She laughed. Not politely. Fully. Her head tipped back. Her eyes closed. For 1 second, Taejun forgot what he was doing. Then Simone looked toward his office. Their eyes met through the glass. Taejun looked down at his computer. Too late. Simone had seen him. And across the floor. She smiled. That evening, Simone's team took her to dinner. Nothing formal. Nothing corporate. Just grilled meat, too many side dishes, and the kind of conversation that became more honest after the second round of drinks. Simone relaxed. This was what she had missed. Not Korea as an idea. This. The noise. The food. People talking over one another. Someone insisting she eat more. Someone else arguing about baseball. The table beside them getting progressively louder. Home was rarely a flag. Sometimes it was simply knowing when to turn the meat over without being told. Then one of her colleagues, June, leaned closer. Can I ask you something? Simone smiled. You're going to anyway. June laughed nervously. Your hair. Simone closed her eyes. The whole table erupted. June. What? I just want to know. Simone opened one eye. What about it? Is it really yours? There was no cruelty in the question. Only curiosity. Simone sighed dramatically. Yes. All of it. All. How? Simone looked at her. How is your hair yours? The table exploded again. June covered her face. That sounded stupid. A little. I'm sorry. Simone laughed. It's fine. Then a voice behind them said, It shouldn't have to be. The table went quiet. Taejun stood there. Simone blinked. Are you following me? This restaurant belongs to my uncle. Of course it does. One colleague immediately stood. Director Kong. Taejun gestured for everyone to sit. His gaze shifted toward Simone. Then June. Curiosity doesn't automatically make a question appropriate. June lowered her head. Yes, Director. Simone watched him. Something about the moment bothered her. Not what he'd said. What it had done. The table had changed. Everyone was suddenly careful. Formal. Taejun noticed too. He gave a short greeting and walked toward the private dining area. Simone watched him disappear. 20 minutes later, she excused herself. She found him outside. Alone. Seoul glowed around them. Taejun. He turned. First name. No title. His eyebrow lifted. You embarrassed her. She embarrassed you. No. She asked whether your hair was real. And then apologized. She shouldn't have asked. Correct. Simone stepped closer. But I decide when something hurts me. Taejun looked at her. You don't need to rescue me every time someone says something ignorant. I wasn't rescuing you. What were you doing? His answer came slowly. Being irritated. That surprised her. Why? I don't know. Simone studied him. Taejun looked away toward the street. She smiled. Oh. His eyes returned to hers. Oh, what? Nothing. Simone. She liked the way he said her name. Too much. Good night, Director Kong. She turned. Simone. She looked back. He stood beneath the restaurant light, hands in his pockets. For the first time, he didn't look like an executive. Just a man. You were right. She waited. I shouldn't have answered for you. Simone's expression softened. Thank you. But the question was still inappropriate. She laughed. You really need the last word, don't you? Yes. She shook her head. Good night, Taejun. This time she walked away. Taejun watched her until she disappeared around the corner. Then he realized something considerably more dangerous than their father's history. He liked her. Not her resume. Not her ideas. Her. And somewhere across Seoul, two fathers who had spent 30 years refusing to speak to each other were about to discover that their children had begun doing exactly that. Chapter 4. Simone had been working at Myri Crown for 11 days when she discovered that Kong Tae-jun had a fatal flaw. He was thoughtful. Not obviously thoughtful. That would have been easier. He didn't arrive with flowers. He didn't flatter people. He didn't perform kindness when someone important was watching. His thoughtfulness lived in inconvenient little places. When one of Simone's junior team members made an error in a presentation, Tae-jun corrected the work without humiliating the employee. When a cleaner entered a conference room during a late meeting, he moved his own chair instead of expecting her to work around him. When food was ordered after 8 one evening, he remembered that Jiun didn't eat shellfish. And when Simone arrived at work one Wednesday morning after spending half the night revising a proposal, there was coffee sitting beside her computer. Black. 1 sugar. Exactly how she drank it. She stared at the cup. Then through the glass wall of Tae-jun's office. He was reading. Simone walked in. Did you put coffee on my desk? He didn't look up. No. Liar. Now he looked at her. That's a serious accusation. The coffee machine doesn't spontaneously deliver beverages to people's desks. Perhaps it respects you. Tae-jun. Something changed whenever she used his first name. Very small. But she noticed it. He removed his glasses. You were here until 11:30. So were you. You looked tired. I am capable of purchasing coffee. I know. Then why did you? He looked genuinely confused by the question. Because I was buying one. And I bought 2. Simone stared at him. That was the problem. He wasn't flirting. At least she didn't think he was. He simply noticed things. Which was considerably worse. She walked toward the door. Thank you. You're welcome. Simone stopped. And Tae-jun. Yes. If you start bringing me breakfast, we're going to have a problem. His expression remained perfectly serious. You eat toast. She turned slowly. How do you know that? You mentioned it during your interview. I did not. You were on the phone outside the boardroom. Simone stared. You were listening to my conversation with my mother? You were speaking loudly. My mother was speaking loudly. I couldn't hear her. Then how? You repeated everything she said. Simone opened her mouth. Closed it. Tae-jun returned to his document. 2 slices of toast is insufficient. She pointed at him. Stay out of my breakfast. Yes, Ms. Tanaka-Bennett. Simone walked out. She made it halfway to her desk before smiling. Jiun saw. That was unfortunate. Oh. Simone immediately stopped smiling. Jiun's eyes widened. Oh. Don't. I didn't say anything. Your face did. Jiun leaned toward her. Director Kong bought you coffee. No. He did. You don't know that. I saw him put it there. Traitor. Simone sat. Go to work. Jiun grinned. Yes, Director Tanaka-Bennett. And Jiun. Yes. Tell anyone and I'm transferring you to accounting. You can't do that. I'll find a way. The Caribbean project changed everything. What had begun as a redesign became Simone's first major test inside the company. She refused to approve the original concept. That irritated 3 executives, confused 2 consultants, and delighted Tae-jun far more than he admitted. Simone wanted Jamaican designers involved from the beginning. Not brought in at the end to decorate someone else's idea. She wanted local food professionals. Artists. historians, architects. Community consultation before land decisions. One afternoon, Taejun found her sitting cross-legged on the floor of a project room surrounded by photographs. Montego Bay, Port Antonio, Kingston, Negril, Blue Mountains, old Georgian buildings, modern Jamaican architecture, markets, beaches, woodwork, textiles, landscapes. Taejun stood in the doorway. Why are you on the floor? Simone looked up. Because the table became too small. There are larger tables. Not in here. There is one next door. She looked toward the adjoining conference room, then back at him. I've been sitting here for 40 minutes. I can see that. You could have told me earlier. I've been here for 6 seconds. Simone sighed. Then you're forgiven. He stepped inside. His gaze moved across the photographs. This isn't what the consultants proposed. No. What is it? Jamaica. He looked at her. Simone picked up 2 photographs. This is what bothers me about luxury companies. They travel somewhere beautiful and immediately start removing everything that made the place beautiful. She handed him an image. They smooth it out. Another. Neutralize it. Another. Then charge people thousands of dollars to experience something that could exist anywhere. Taejun crouched beside her. Their shoulders almost touched. What would you do? Simone looked at the photographs. I'd make the hotel impossible to mistake for anywhere else. He watched her rather than the images. You care about this? Of course. Because you're Jamaican? Simone considered the question. Partly. Then she smiled. My grandparents would haunt me if Myri Crown opened some beige resort in Jamaica under my supervision. Taejun laughed. Simone stopped. She had never heard him laugh. Not properly. It changed his entire face. The severity disappeared. He looked younger. Warmer. Handsome in a way she hadn't prepared for. Taejun noticed her staring. What? Nothing. You're staring. I've never heard you laugh. I laugh. No. Yes. You make a quiet exhaling sound when something amuses you. That is laughing. That is respiratory function. He stared at her. Simone grinned. Then he laughed again. And that was worse. Much worse. She looked down at the photographs. Focus. Work. Kang Taejun was her boss. Technically. He was also the son of a man her father apparently hated. More importantly, Simone had been back in Seoul for less than 3 weeks. She did not need complications. Especially 6-foot complications with excellent cheekbones and an irritating memory for how she took her coffee. She reached for another photograph. Their hands touched. Both stopped. It was nothing. Skin. Fingers. Accident. Yet neither moved immediately. Simone looked at him. Taejun was already looking at her. The room suddenly seemed too quiet. Then Simone pulled her hand away. We should use the larger conference room. Taejun stood. Yes. Neither mentioned what had just happened. Chapter 5. Sunday dinner. Taejun met Simone's mother by accident. At least Simone believed it was an accident. Marcia Bennett believed in neither accidents nor wasted opportunities. Simone had gone to her parents' apartment on Sunday with laundry. Not because she couldn't wash her own clothes. Because her washing machine had begun making a noise that sounded like mechanical death, and the repair technician couldn't come until Tuesday. She arrived wearing leggings, trainers, and an oversized sweatshirt. Her hair was pulled into a loose bun. Marcia took one look at the laundry basket. You own a washing machine. Not anymore. What happened? It sounds possessed. Did you overload it? No. Marcia looked inside the basket. Simone. What? How many towels you put in there? That is irrelevant. Exactly. Simone carried the basket toward the laundry room. Her father was out. That had made visiting easier. Things between them weren't bad, but they weren't quite normal either. Hiroshi had stopped asking Simone to leave Myri Crown. Simone had stopped asking him about Kong Min-suk. Temporary peace. She knew it wouldn't last. By noon, her clothes were washing and Marcia had decided Simone needed feeding. By one meal had somehow become 6 dishes. By 1:15, Simone was suspicious. Who else is coming? Nobody. Mummy. What? You made enough food for a wedding. I cook. You multiply. Marcia ignored her. The doorbell rang. Simone looked at her mother. Marcia looked genuinely confused. For once. I didn't invite anybody. Simone went to the door. She opened it. And stared. Taejun stood outside. He stared back. Neither spoke. His gaze traveled from Simone's bare feet to the oversized university sweatshirt. Then to her face. Hello. Simone leaned against the doorframe. How do you know where I live? I don't. This is my mother's apartment. I know. That did not improve your answer. Taejun lifted a folder. Your father left documents at the office. Simone frowned. My father. Then she saw the name written across the envelope. Hiroshi Tanaka. Her stomach tightened. Where did you get that? My father. Before Simone could respond, Marcia appeared behind her. Who is it? She looked past Simone. Then froze. Taejun bowed. Mrs. Bennett. Marcia looked at Simone. Then at Taejun. Then back at Simone. Very slowly. Simone knew that look. No. Her mother blinked innocently. I didn't say anything. You were about to. Come inside, Marcia said. Mummy. He's standing in the hallway. He was leaving. I was. Taejun asked. Simone looked at him. You're not helping. Marcia stepped aside. Come inside. Taejun removed his shoes. Simone whispered. Traitor. I brought documents. You could have emailed. They're originals. You could have called. I did. Simone checked her phone. 3 missed calls. Oh. Taejun's eyebrow lifted. Exactly. Marcia watched the entire exchange. Dangerously. Have you eaten? Taejun answered politely. I don't want to impose. Wrong answer. Marcia smiled. That wasn't the question. Simone covered her face. Mummy. He probably has plans. Taejun looked toward the dining table. I don't. Simone dropped her hand. You had plans 5 seconds ago. No. You said I had plans. Marcia pointed toward a chair. Sit. Taejun sat. Just like that. Executive Director Kang Taejun, feared across several departments of Myri Crown Hospitality, obeyed Simone's mother without hesitation. Simone stared. Marcia began putting food in front of him. Rice. Galbi. Vegetables. A small portion of curry goat. Taejun looked at it. Marcia noticed. You eat spicy? Yes. Jamaican spicy? He paused. Simone smiled. Be careful. Taejun looked at her. I can handle spicy food. Simone sat across from him. Famous last words. He took a bite. For 3 seconds, nothing happened. Then his eyes changed. Simone saw it. You okay? Yes. His voice was slightly tighter. Marcia turned away to hide her smile. Taejun took water. Simone began laughing. Don't. You said you could handle it. I can. You're sweating. I am not. You absolutely are. Marcia placed more food on his plate. Eat rice with it. Thank you. Simone looked between them. Mummy, stop adopting my coworkers. Marcia's head snapped toward her. Coworker. Taejun coughed. Simone realized too late. Boss. Marcia's eyes became enormous. This is your boss? Mummy. Marcia looked at Taejun. You're Kong Taejun? Yes. The warmth in her expression changed. Not disappeared. Changed. She sat down. Taejun noticed. My father gave me something for Mr. Tanaka. He placed the folder on the table. Marcia didn't touch it. What? I don't know. Simone looked at him. You didn't open it? It wasn't addressed to me. For some reason, that mattered. Marcia looked toward the door. Hiroshi will be back soon. Taejun stood. Then perhaps I should leave. Too late. A key turned in the lock. The door opened. Hiroshi entered carrying groceries. He saw Simone first. Then Marcia. Then Taejun. The bag slipped slightly in his hand. Nobody moved. Taejun bowed. Mr. Tanaka. Hiroshi stared at him. 30 years of anger looked through one man's face at another man's son. You look like him. Taejun straightened. So I've been told. Hiroshi's gaze dropped to the folder. What is that? Something from my father. Hiroshi's face hardened. I don't want it.
Papa.
No. Taejun picked up the folder. I'll take it back. Simone looked at her father. You don't even know what's inside. I don't need to. That's ridiculous. Simone. No. You've spent 30 years not knowing what happened, and now someone sends you something and you're too angry to open it. Hiroshi's eyes flashed. You don't understand. Then explain it. Silence. Taejun stepped backward. This is a family matter. Simone turned toward him. Your family started it. Hiroshi looked sharply at her. Taejun didn't react. Then Marcia spoke. Enough. Everyone stopped. She looked at Hiroshi. Sit. Marcia. Sit. Hiroshi sat. She looked at Taejun. You too. Taejun sat. Then Simone. You already sitting. Good. Simone nearly smiled. Marcia placed the folder in the center of the table. For 30 years, 2 grown men have carried around one story each. Nobody spoke. And now there are children standing in my dining room carrying the same foolishness. Hiroshi frowned. It isn't foolishness. Then open the envelope. He looked at her. Marcia folded her arms. Hiroshi knew that posture. So did Simone. Resistance was pointless. Her father reached for the folder. He opened it. Inside was a letter. And a photocopy of an old bank document. Hiroshi read. His face changed. Simone leaned forward. What? He didn't answer.
Papa.
Hiroshi handed the document to her. A transfer. A large amount of money. Authorized from the hotel investment account. Simone looked at the signature. Hiroshi Tanaka. That's not mine, her father said. Simone looked up. I know. No. He pointed at the document. I mean, I can prove it. Taejun went still. How? Hiroshi stood. He walked toward the wooden box. From inside, he removed an old passport. He opened it, then placed it beside the bank document. Simone stared. It's Simone's mother without hesitation. The transaction date was May 14th, 1993. Her father's passport showed an entry stamp. Japan. May 9th. And a Korean departure stamp from May 8th. Hiroshi had not been in Korea when the transfer was authorized in person. Taejun looked at him. My father said you signed it at the bank. I wasn't in the country. Silence. Simone felt something cold move through her. Then somebody forged your signature. Yes. Taejun looked at the letter. My father sent this because he found the original transaction record last week. Why no? Hiroshi asked. Taejun's answer was quiet. Because I asked questions. Hiroshi looked at him. For the first time, his expression held something other than anger. Taejun continued. He's beginning to question what he remembers. Hiroshi sat slowly. Marcia looked at the two younger people. So, Simone knew that tone. Her mother had reached a conclusion. You two are going to find out what happened. Simone blinked. Mummy? What? This isn't a detective drama. No, detective dramas have less food. Taejun looked down. Simone caught it. You're smiling. No, you are. Marcia stood. Well, solve it after dinner. Taejun looked surprised. You want me to stay? Marcia stared at him. You haven't finished your plate. And somehow, that settled the matter. Chapter 6. Hair Day. Taejun saw Simone's natural hair 3 weeks later. He did not behave as expected, which Simone would later decide was exactly why the moment stayed with her. Saturday afternoon found her sitting on a cushion between her mother's knees. An old t-shirt hung loosely over her body. Her face was bare. Her feet were tucked beneath her. And her freshly washed hair surrounded her shoulders in a thick, textured cloud. Long. Dense. Softly coiled. Marcia worked conditioner through one section. Simone winced. Ow. I barely touch you. You pulled. I did not. You absolutely did. 32 years old and still tender-headed. Mummy. Hold still. Simone shoveled another spoonful of stew into her mouth from the bowl balanced in her lap. This is why I go to salons. And yet you're here. Because you guilt me. Because you waste money. My money. Still money. The doorbell rang. Neither moved. It rang again. Mummy. My hand's full. So are mine. You holding a bowl. And protecting my scalp. Marcia tapped her shoulder with the comb. Door. Simone groaned. She stood. Half her hair was dead-angled and twisted. The other half was enormous. She looked ridiculous. Perfect. The bell rang again. I'm coming. Simone opened the door. Taejun stood outside. He stared. Simone stared back. His eyes moved once toward her hair, then returned to her face. Silence. Simone narrowed her eyes. Don't. His brow furrowed. Don't what? Say anything. I said hello. You didn't. I was about to. Behind Simone, Marcia shouted. Who is it? Taejun answered. Me. Simone looked at him. Me? Marcia appeared. Oh, Taejun. Come. This had become another problem. Her mother had stopped calling him Director Kang approximately 2 dinners ago. Simone suspected Taejun visited primarily for food now. He stepped inside. Simone blocked him. What do you want? He held up a flash drive. The revised financial model. On Saturday? You asked for it. On Monday. You'll look at it tonight. Simone hated that he knew her. Fine. She took it. Goodbye. Marcia shouted from behind her. Taejun, you eat? Simone closed her eyes. He looked over her shoulder. Not yet. Come. Mummy. Taejun removed his shoes. Traitor. Again. Simone returned to the cushion. Marcia resumed working. Taejun sat on the sofa. Simone could feel him looking. She turned. What? Nothing. You're staring. You stare at me all the time. I do not. You stared when I laughed. That was because I didn't know you could. He almost smiled. Simone narrowed her eyes. What? Nothing. Say it. I like it. She blinked. My hair? Yes. Simone waited. That was all. No amazement that it was hers. No question about how it became straight. No request to touch it. Just. I like it. Something inside her softened. Marcia's hands slowed briefly. Mothers heard everything. Simone looked away. Thank you. Taejun nodded. Then Marcia pulled a section. Ow. You see. Simone pointed. Violence. Taejun's mouth twitched. Should I come back? Yes. No, Marcia said. Simone turned. Mummy. She nearly finished. I am visibly not nearly finished. Taejun laughed. Simone pointed toward the door. You can leave. He settled more comfortably into the sofa. I was invited. By the woman assaulting me. Marcia smacked Simone lightly with the comb. Taejun laughed harder. And Simone, despite herself, started laughing too. For several minutes, nobody spoke about stolen money, or fathers, or careers, or prejudice, or the strange circumstances that had brought Kong Taejun into this apartment. They simply existed together. Marcia working through her daughter's hair. Simone complaining. Taejun eating whatever Marcia eventually placed in front of him. Ordinary. Warm. Dangerously comfortable. Later, when Marcia went into the kitchen, Taejun stood beside Simone near the window. Her hair was finished now. Twists fell over her shoulders. You're different here, he said. Simone looked at him. How? Relaxed. Meaning? You're not fighting. She smiled faintly. I'm always fighting? At work. Yes. Because half the room expects me to justify why I'm in it. Taejun's expression changed. Simone looked toward the city. Sometimes I walk into a room and I can see people trying to understand me before I've even spoken. She shrugged. Black woman. Korean name. Japanese surname. Jamaican family. Seoul accent. She looked at him. People want one answer. And you don't have one. I have several. Taejun shook his head. No. Simone frowned. You have one. She waited. Simone. Something about the simplicity of it reached somewhere she hadn't protected. He wasn't trying to solve her. He wasn't telling her he didn't see race. He wasn't pretending the world treated her the same as everyone else. He simply wasn't asking her to divide herself into pieces so he could understand her. Simone looked at him for a long moment. Taejun. Yes. You're becoming difficult to dislike. His eyes warmed. I didn't know you were still trying. She laughed softly. Then neither moved. The space between them changed. He was close. Not touching. Close enough. Simone's heartbeat slowed and accelerated at the same time. Taejun's gaze dropped briefly toward her mouth, then returned to her eyes. There it was. No confusion now. No accident. No hand touching hers over photographs. This was attraction. Mutual. Adult. And extremely inconvenient. Taejun leaned slightly closer. Simone didn't move away. Then Marcia's voice came from the kitchen. Simone, you want more rice? They separated so quickly it was almost embarrassing. Simone closed her eyes. Taejun looked toward the ceiling. Yes, Mummy. Then she heard Marcia say, and asked Taejun. Simone looked at him. Do you want more rice? His face was perfectly serious. Yes. She stared. You ruined a moment for rice. I was hungry. Simone shoved his shoulder. He caught her hand. Both stopped. His fingers remained around hers. The laughter disappeared. Taejun looked at her. Simone looked at him. Then he slowly released her. Not yet. They both knew it. But soon. Very soon. And from the kitchen, Marcia Bennett smiled to herself. Because mothers heard everything. Even silence. Chapter 7. The first lie. The first real lie Simone told Taejun was small. That was probably why it bothered her so much. He asked whether she was all right. She said yes. She wasn't. The morning had begun with an email. No subject line. No greeting. Just an attachment. An old newspaper clipping from 1993. The headline was in Korean. Japanese businessman questioned in Busan hotel investment fraud. Below it was a photograph of her father. Young. Unsure. Surrounded by reporters. Simone stared at it for a long time. She had never seen him like that. Not as Papa. Not as the man who corrected her chopstick grip when she was 5 or taught her to ride a bicycle or stood in the kitchen making miso soup whenever someone in the family was sick. This was Hiroshi before her. Before Marcia. Before Simone. A 20-something man caught in a public scandal that apparently followed him all the way into a wooden box he kept hidden in a cabinet 30 years later. She read the article twice. Then a third time. The accusations were vague. Misappropriated funds. Forged documents. A failed hospitality development. A fractured partnership. The article quoted Kang Min-suk. Not extensively. Just enough. He had said that he had trusted Hiroshi completely. And that the betrayal had been devastating. Simone stopped reading. Her stomach tightened. The sender's address was unfamiliar. She forwarded the message to her personal account, printed the article, then deleted the email from her work inbox. That was the lie. Not the deletion. The silence. Because when Taejun walked into her office 20 minutes later and placed coffee beside her keyboard, he noticed immediately. You're quiet. I have work. You're always working. She looked up. Maybe I'm becoming more efficient. You're terrible at pretending. That irritated her. Mostly because he was right. Simone reached for the coffee. Thank you. He didn't move. What's wrong? Nothing. There it was. The lie. Taejun watched her. Then nodded. Not because he believed her. Because he understood she didn't want to tell him. That somehow made it worse. He turned to leave. Taejun. He looked back. Simone almost told him. Almost. Then she thought of the clipping. His father. Her father. 30 years of accusation. And something colder. Whoever had sent that article knew where she worked. Knew who she was. And wanted her to see it. Nothing. His expression changed slightly. Okay. He left. Simone sat alone with the coffee between her hands. She hated that his disappointment was so quiet. At lunch, she called Hiroshi. He answered on the third ring. Simone? Were you in the newspapers? Silence. She closed her office door.
Papa.
Yes. Why didn't you tell me? I told you I was questioned. You didn't tell me reporters were waiting outside. It was a long time ago. That answer is starting to annoy me. Hiroshi sighed. What happened? Someone sent me an article. His voice changed. Who? I don't know. When? This morning. From where? My work email. Another silence. Then. Leave. Simone stared at the wall. No, Simone. Absolutely not. Someone is trying to intimidate you. Then leaving would mean it worked. This isn't about pride. It isn't pride. She lowered her voice. It's my life. Hiroshi exhaled slowly. Send me the article. You've seen it. I want the email information. That surprised her. All right. And tell Taejun. Simone blinked. You want me to tell Kong Taejun? I want you to tell the man responsible for security at the company where this happened. She smiled despite herself. That's very reasonable of you. Don't start. You're evolving, Papa. Simone. I'll tell him. Today. Yes. Promise. She paused. I promise.